FakePress is like a weird because we don't do regular publications, we do cross-medial publications. So the publications which we do are publications which are intended to be accessed from objects, architectural spaces, and also from bodies. So what we do actually is use a series of technologies to embed the publication into buildings, into spaces, into things you can wear, into object that sits on your desk. And let me show you a couple. So I saw we have a connection so that we don't speak too abstractly. Press.it. For example, we do things like this. Have you ever felt that this project, for example, is one of our books? Okay, it doesn't look like a book because it's actually a shirt. Okay, and the shirt has a circuit on it. And the objective of this publication is to publish on the bodies of lecturers the emotion of the audience. So have you ever been to a very boring conference or a very boring lesson or lecture? Okay, so this would have been perfect because the lecturer wears this shirt and people in the audience have an interface which they can access to their through their mobile phones or through a web interface if they have a laptop there, and they can say what their feelings are about the lecture or lesson or whatever conference they are listening to. When the level of boredom bypasses a certain level, things start to happen on the body of the lecturer. Up to a certain level, little lights and sounds start popping up onto the body of a lecturer. If you see the shirt here, this is a sound, this is a light circuit, and this is the other way. This is a sound circuit, and this is a light circuit. So this little light started flashing, and the beep 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 starts going. So actually, if people are bored, the lecturer is distracted, and so he has to stop and change something which he's doing. Okay. And then if the level of boredom really bypasses really high levels, it means that people hate this guy or woman who is giving the lecture, and so he starts getting small electrical shocks on his finger, like there on where those electrodes are. So this is a publication for us. We treat this little device as a publication. We also treat it as our little war on boring conferences, but it is a full-scale publication, and we treat it as, because if you imagine what publishers do, if you had to define what does a publisher do?
Publishes content? Makes content available to the masses?
Yeah.
Other definitions for publisher now?
Does a publisher do other things? That's perfect. Publish content information. Does a publisher do other things? Advertise can be, yes. So it actually communicates the things he's publishing, and also inside the publication there is some things. It also cares for the creation of content. So he actually looks at the world around the publishing house, and the publishers choose some pieces of reality and give these pieces of reality a form, and then this form is the book, or in this case a shirt. Okay, so we are treating this exactly as a publication. So a publisher selects information, gives a form, a representation to information, and makes it available onto another media. And we're doing the exact same thing. So we are choosing, in this case, the information is the emotion of people, the media is the body of the lecturer, and so here you have it. We have the publisher in between. We create the medium, which is not a book in this case, but a shirt. And so this book, let's call it book, why not, is worn on the body of the lecturer, and actually the authors are all the people in the audience. Authors and one person reading, actually is reading, the lecturer is reading using his body, his or her body. And this is a very interesting thing. For example, one other thing which I want to show you before we start doing things. Artisopensource.net. This is the thing we just presented at the Transmediale Festival in Berlin.
Do you know about transmediale?
What's it called, sorry?
Transmediale.
It's a big festival in Berlin, transmediale.de. It's a big festival in Germany, festival about, it was just over. It's a festival about digital art, digital cultures, and so lots of people gather each year to have a big, enormous exhibit, and there are also performances, workshops, lots of things going on all over Berlin. And there we presented another book by FakePress, which is called Consciousness of Streams. This book has, up to now, it has 35,000 authors. The object of this book is to create a real-time emotional map of the world, meaning that people can contribute their emotions, their description in particular, the description of their emotional state when they are in a specific place. So I'm here, I feel happy, I can use several interfaces on mobile phones and on the web to communicate that my emotional interpretation of this place. Okay? So if you look at what's going on, for example, emotions, each one of these is people communicating an emotion. Emotions are color-coded. And so, for example, here is a person feeling rage. And actually, there's sound here. Okay, didn't say anything, just recorded. And people could use this interface here, or another interface on their mobile phone. This interface was actually built in Transmediale as kiosks, as digital kiosks, so people could actually go there on the touch screen and do like this and say, okay, I feel joy. Okay, yes. Then they could detail their emotion a bit more. I am astonished, we'll do a quick one now. Feel astonished, so they choose a couple of more words. And then they could associate this emotion to an image or to a sound. For example, like this. I greet you. Is there one? Yeah, hello, I feel joy. Okay, and so, okay, it goes. There it goes. So, for example, if you now go here on the website, see the things appear immediately. So it's really real time. People are contributing a lot. Obviously, it was presented at Transmediale, so this is a timeline representation, for example, and this enormous pile is during Transmediale. Now the activity is quite lower because it was heavily advertised during Transmediale. But as you can see, there's people contributing actually from all over. And so authors are these, the authors of this publication are all the people contributing to Consciousness of Streams, and there are, it's drawing the map, and there are actually 35,000 of them. Okay, so it's a book with 35,000 authors. This is because all these publications share a common objective. They share a common objective, meaning that the aim, the principal aim of this is to create new kinds of publications. FakePress, when we describe what the FakePress is, it's like a think tank. It's like a halfway hybrid between a research institute and a regular publishing house. And what we do is to imagine new scenarios for publication, because many things are happening to the media we use. For example, one thing that is happening a lot is that internet is going out from the monitors. Okay, so I don't know what do you actually do in this course? Do you actually use technologies practically? What technologies do you use?
Multimedia, I suppose.
Yeah, everything from programs from using video editing all the way through to processing Arduino.
Okay.
Open source programs.
Okay, so you actually get to do some physical computing, and you actually do something with augmented reality, geotagging, location-based, blah blah blah. Okay. So you know that the networks are going out of computers, okay? So actually you can
In different ways.
In different ways. So actually you can disseminate content all over, in objects, in places, in spaces. So this is a major change.
Yeah, question?
Why did you choose to transform emotions and not something else?
This is one of the publications. We can go through a couple of... This was one. It's like, why do a recipe book? Because we felt like doing a recipe book. No, for example.
Yeah, but why emotions?
A quick answer, because there's a quick answer and a long answer. The quick answer is that because we found it very poetic, because emotions are a very peculiar thing to analyze. And also they are becoming very interesting to many areas, fields of research. For example, lots of disciplines, scientific disciplines, business disciplines, are starting to become very interested in emotion. For example, you can start at design. There's Donald Norman. Do you know Donald Norman? He's a very big American designer, American designer whose theories is both theoretical designer and practical designer are about how, let's say shortly, nice things, good-looking things actually work better from the design point of view, because you establish more relationships with them. So actually, for example, even starting from design, emotion is a very hot topic, because emotions, if you can relate to an object, so if this object gives you emotions, you can actually leverage this emotion to build a better experience, a better usage experience, a better... As we said before, books usually have one or a few authors. Which is the book that you read that had the most authors? 2, 3, 5, 12.
For me, 60.
Okay, but there are few people. Okay, there are very few people.
Less than 35,000. Less than 35,000.
Less than 35,000, or less than potentially
5 million.
The whole population of the world. Okay, so books are actually a medium through which very few voices are represented. This thing, which could sound actually quite simple and obvious, actually has a couple of very interesting things that pop out from it. For example, do you know what anthropologists do as a job?
Study people.
What?
How do they do it?
They do field work.
Perfect.
Places and analyze.
Ethnographic, yeah.
And then they go back to their office, let's say like this, and what do? They write a book usually. Contemporary anthropology states a very interesting thing. For example, from Bateson or Margaret Mead, anthropologists started saying that cultures are not something that is lowered from above onto people. Cultures are things that emerge from networked interaction through people. So people relate to each other and they build cultures, okay? And this culture is actually a network of relationships, of differences. And so actually they are very interested, theoretically, they are very interested on the possibilities for people to express themselves. And also, expression of self is expression of difference. So actually, you express what is going on into a society, into a social group, into a group of people that live in the same area, not by doing statistics. 32% of the people have 1.5 legs. That's not true, but statistics often say things like that. They are averages. They don't describe the world. They describe a synthesis of the world. Lots of information is lost. They're very useful, but lots of information is lost. What anthropologists say is that to represent a culture, for example, or a group of people living together, you actually need to avoid losing this information. And actually, so you have to describe a network by letting the network speak by themselves. Okay. But anthropologists say this very interesting thing, but when they go back to their office, they write a book, and they are alone writing the book. So actually they say this wonderful theory, but then they go back home and they express a single voice, their own. Okay? Because books are like anthropological books, anthropological writing is like a novel. It's like a novel in which the anthropologist tells the tale of how he perceived that population. Okay, so it's actually not good according to that other theory. So there is this big enormous problem, and many forms of communication have this big enormous problem. Because if you think about many forms of communication that you have, television, books, etc., they all have this problem. Many of them have this problem, that only a few voices are represented. So, together with Professor Massimo Canevacci, who is a major international researcher on visual cultures, Professor Canevacci had this ongoing research with the Bororo population in Mato Grosso. Mato Grosso is in Brazil. It's a place really near the borders of the rainforest, and the Bororo live there. The Bororo are also a very interesting population because they have several very interesting funeral rites and also very complex social structure.
And they survive.
And they survived. Actually, they're a very stressed population because they go to sleep with trees around their houses and they wake up with no trees. So it's actually quite rough. And so Professor Canevacci went there with his fellow researchers to
And
Mato
also
Grosso,
a class of students.
And also a class of students. And when he went there, we decided that we could make an experiment in going beyond the problems of anthropological writing. So why is there this beautiful theory that cultures are... to express the meaning of a culture, the significance of a culture, you have to express networks, and then when you go back home you write about it only on your own, writing actually what is a novel. So we built this application, which is a location, nothing much, it's just a regular location-based application, but it was peculiar in a way. That application is the book, the anthropological book about Massimo Canevacci's research on the Bororo. And actually, if you see the interface, there are lots of authors in the publication. For example, the first author up there is Massimo Canevacci, the second author is Paolo Sutera, which is a student of Professor Canevacci, and the third author is Kleber, who is a Bororo. So actually this application was meant to be used by everyone who wanted to use it, even the borrower. So the borrower were taught how to record videos, record sounds. And so actually what came out of this book was an anthropological book with many voices expressed. Okay? Potentially all the voices. Then some of them didn't feel like doing it. Some of them actually didn't understand, but many of them did. So it's a 35 meters long urban screen in Rome. Here, down here, we were setting it up, and this is how it looked like in the end. It's pretty big. This is a very nice place in Rome. And the objective of this screen is to let people publish. So people actually have access to this to publish their visions on the city. So if they have ideas on how they would like to change the city or projects that they would like to have implemented in their city, or they just imagine their city changing in something or turning into something else in the next few years, vision on the city they live in. People can connect to this system. It was called Atlante delle Visioni, Atlas of the Visions. And they could add their vision on the city, so they could add text, they could record the video of them showing things, and they could also say what place in the city was concerned with that vision that they had, and they could also say where they were from. And it was very, very interesting because imagine this enormous screen, and for example here in this visualization here you would see representations of the visions of people building up in real time, okay? For example, this representation here, which you see on top, is a map of Rome only built through the visions of people. So imagine that if you have a vision of someone concerning their neighborhood, you have the map, you place it on the map, and then you take the map away. Okay, so only the dot remains. So that is the vision of the city that's a map of the vision of the cities without the map underneath it. So it's a description of the city of Rome through the vision of the people who live in it. Which is quite interesting because it's another geography. There is a geography that is built through roads and buildings, and this is a geography that is built using the visions of people. But it's a description of the city. And actually it's a very interesting geography because, you can see it actually also here. If you follow this geography, I don't know if you can see it, there is a line that goes way beyond. This is like Rome, imagine, and here there is a line that goes very far on the right. This is because there was a very important architect from Columbia that lived a lot in Rome and also did some projects in Rome, and so he had this vision on the city of Rome. So he contributed his vision on the city of Rome from Bogota. And so actually this city made of visions, of expressions of people, is a different geography because this Rome made of visions actually arrives to Bogota. Okay, so it's actually a completely different geography. And it's a very interesting thing that happens because when you start layering digital and analog realities, things like this happen, okay? Because it's very interesting. So, for example, on the consciousness of streams, we gave an interpretation. Did you see that there were lines connecting the same colors? So each color was an emotion, and so where there were two emotions during the last few hours, a line formed among them. Why did we do this? Because we decided to describe new countries according to emotion. So no more Italy, UK, Germany, but nations made with emotions. Okay, so there was the nation of
sadness.
The nation of sadness, the nation of happiness. There is this .php. And so these are totally interesting countries, okay, because they are international, they are global. For example, now it's bringing it up because there's quite a lot of things to draw. They are international, they are over regular countries. And this is not a suggestion actually, because these things, new geographies that are formed through digital domains, digital groups, digital societies, is something that is happening quite a lot. For example, do you remember that a few months ago there was this big issue on censorship among Google and government of China? There was. If you analyze the dialogue that happened between Google and the government of China, it was a diplomatic dialogue. It was like a diplomat from nation Google talking to a diplomat from nation China. So Google was actually, even formally, it was actually a diplomatic dialogue.
And conflict also.
And conflict as well, okay? And it is very interesting because we're talking about enormous operator. Facebook has 500 million users. It's a regular nation. Okay, it's a nation. It's a nation with bureaucracy, with laws, with economy inside it. It's a regular nation. It has nothing missing. Okay, there's people doing business on Facebook and getting taxed. So it's a regular nation, okay? And it's big as a nation. Only it's a nation in a different space, layered over our analog space. So there is, and it's cross-national. So the nation Facebook is another citizenship we have on a digital domain, and is layered over regular nation. So nation Facebook is everywhere. Okay, means is that it's informal, it's not bureaucratized, it doesn't have a legal status. It's a group of people assembling in different ways across different times of the year to form what is a fake cultural institution, meaning that it's a group of people who enact cultural policies. But they enact real cultural policies. So it's actually a fake real cultural institution. Okay, this has a pretty interesting story, and I will tell you only the big parts of it. And there was this really existing cultural institution in Italy. It's called the Fondazione Roma Europa. It was very big. It is very big. It was born in the 80s. It brought lots of innovation in arts to Italy. They were the first one to bring video theater, innovative dance, contemporary dance in Italy. It was very brilliant, enormous public-private foundation in Italy. But then, in this enormous crisis, this public-private foundation became powered by Telecom Italia, which is Italy's biggest phone operator. And this happens because, as all big operators, even Telecom Italia understood from a couple of years that they need to have strategies on digital cultures, because even big operators, as we said before, on Facebook, are becoming like small countries. They are becoming like small governments, okay? They rule how we communicate. They have their own bureaucracy. They are cross-country. They're international. They're very powerful, okay? Imagine if British Telecom goes like this, poof, off, with connections. Their government is like if Russia goes like this with gas, okay? They're very powerful. And they can do it. Imagine Cisco putting You know Cisco. Cisco is an enormous company that produces network devices. Imagine they put a backdoor on their network devices and they have an enormous red switch and they can go like, poof, shut everything off. Now let's talk. Okay, everything on the internet shuts down. Okay, it's a disaster. So they are big governments. Okay, and so operators like Telecom Italia understood that they need to have strategies on digital cultures. So what they did is, okay, there is a crisis. We still have some money. Let's buy this enormous Italian foundation who does lots of innovation in arts, culture, and creativity, and let's use it to enact our digital cultural policies. And so they did. The first step of this was this competition. The competition was called Roma Europa Web Factory. It was a digital a competition in digital arts, so music, videos, and things like that. It had some problems. When you registered to your artwork, your video, your music, your text to the competition, you lost all rights on your work, even if you didn't win. So you gave up all the rights on your work forever for free. And then there was another problem. This was already wow. But there was another problem. Another problem was that even if they were speaking of digital arts, no actions of remix, mashup, for website analytics. The analytics, the statistics of the how many viewers your website, how many visitors, how many pages they read, how many things they read. Here we have obviously analytics to see how many people are using our websites. And for example, there is this one. Each person has this little tree. Wait, oh, I can see it. Each person has this little tree. This little tree is peculiar because each person has its own tree. This tree grows according on how you use how this particular machine uses fiducial the markers, the QRcodes. Okay, so for example, if I read first this QR code, then this other QR code, and then I go back and I read this other QR code, my little tree in the first page will have a certain shape. If someone else reads the codes in a different order, or maybe reads this code 20 times, but in general they use the book in ways that are different than the way I use it, you will have a tree that has a different shape. So the shape of this little tree depends on the database of the usage statistic of the website. Okay, so everyone, at least every terminal, for example, because we actually don't want to store information about people. Okay, so we actually store they are called hashes, codes that are generated but that cannot be traced back to the original information. So we don't store the IP address of people or the email of people. As soon as someone connects to the website or to these systems, they have there is just it's like a random number, let's say a random string, but which is a unique generated. But we actually is not traceable to me or to John Smith or something. Okay, it's just a unique number that is stored for that purpose.
C'è una barra sull'occhio.
Yes, I know, because they're quite dark conditions. You see, even there, he recognizes this a bit. Because this is for tolerance. These augmented reality engines recognize these, which are called, many people call them in many ways. I call them fiduciary markers, but many people just call them fiducial markers, or many other ways, augmented reality markers. And as you can see, they are very simple. This is because they need to be traced in real time. The difference between these and these, so QRCodes and fiduciary markers, is that these are not barcodes. They don't identify a single object. They are just markers which are very easy to trace using computer vision algorithms. And their objective is not to provide an identification to an object. Their objective is to be able to trace them visually quickly using a computer vision system. The objective of this is to trace gestures, movements of things, of objects, of things you are holding, and so they're actually designed for maximum speed of recognition, but they are not very there are not many of them, okay, so they cannot be used as barcodes to identify. So if you will have 1 million objects, you won't be able to create 1 million different fiduciary markers, but you will be able to create 1 million QRCodes, for example, okay, because they are barcodes, because they have more information, and because these are not designed to be produced in a million, okay. For example, the MACME platform allows you to create 1024 of these, so that you can have maximum 1024 different fiduciary markers. For example, in this book we have only 3. One is this one with a little tree, and the other one is this one, which is an on-paper YouTube browser. So actually we have him, which we saw before, okay, and we actually publish videos constantly on the book, so that if you open the book in 2 weeks or so, when we're back home, you will probably see another video here, okay. So we have like a non-paper version of the book, of our YouTube channel. And for example, there is another one here. You see there is an art catalog at the end of this book, and here is just like a very hello there. Okay, it's just a very noisy representation of all the images of the catalog, and even more than there are here, because actually artists are continuing to use the platform here to add their new artworks. Okay, so they're actually using this as a platform, and they continually adding all the works that they do. Okay, so these are the next functions which actually were there before, and if you look at the old versions of MACME, you actually find them, but I don't suggest you do so because it's a messy version of the plugin. You better stick to the new one, which is the one which you find here on GitHub, and which is the one which I will leave you as a software kit. So if you get the latest version here, it will be the most, and these will be the exact thing that will be reintegrated into the plugin. These will be integrated directly out of the box, so that you can use them just like this. But as all this software, you'll be able to open it up, see how it's done, and you will see that there are very simple functions that implement the various pieces, and they can be easily pulled out. Another interesting thing is that just as there are website analytics, we created the concept of book analytics. So if you open this QR code at the back of the book, you will be able to see in real time how many people are using the digital contents of the book. Okay, so just exactly how you use website, and you can know how many people are using the website, you will be able to know how many people are using the book. So you will get several graph representations of the number of people who are using the book, what people are looking at the most, what's the most popular video of the book, all the content of the digital content of the book is presented in this way, like web statistics.
Almost.
To log into the university network.
Yeah.
Don't think 3G will just do it.
It's good if it's still working, because we have been out of any place where we can manage things a lot from like a month. If it's still up, it's a miracle.
So have you plans to print anything else? Any more books?
Actually, as
We print one a day.
actually, with this book, it's just like the strange thing, because we don't do any paper books. This was created using this plugin, this plugin that I show you. But the printed version, because we actually only wanted to have the online version and the mobile phone version. But is it flat? No, it's not flat. Okay.
No, there is.
Okay, no, because I was wondering if it kept on working.
No, there is a big line on
Okay,
this
wow,
shoot.
people are
Yeah.
using it.
Yeah.
But it's very much got a peak.
Wow,
Yeah.
fantastic. And
It
there are
depends on
several
campaign,
representations,
you know.
because there's the distribution across the hours of the day, and so it's just like website statistics, but it's book statistics. And so going back to the print versions, we actually don't do print versions. This is done by Deriva Prodi. It is done by using this plugin. What we do is to create platforms like this, and then we use them ourselves to do some publications of this kind. For example, Consciousness of Streams, Squat in Supermarkets, this book of the Roma Europa Fake Factory, and all the other things which we actually
The
do.
peel box, for example, will be the next version of the book, of REFF book. Or when we went back from Transmediale, we took off a piece of the installation saying, okay, this is our book, the material part of the book, and just we left, come si dice prendere? We took the installation with us because it was
Absolutely, it was
the
a book.
material part of the book. So.
Okay. So, up to what time do we have here?
We finished the time because it's 5 p.m. 11. So
Okay. So, now I